Hi all, this is a review of how to make an exploded axonometric drawing. You of course will need to make some decisions about what you want to explode, how you want to do this, what you want the final drawing to look like. This is just going to look at a couple techniques to help you out. So first thing, I want you to make a brand new clean file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to call this for exploded axon. That way you don't mess up your original model and you don't have to worry about what you're doing here. Okay, next thing. You need to decide what's going to explode and what's not going to explode, but one thing I want to know is what it looks like when it's still all together. So I'm going to select everything and copy it. And I'm going to actually copy it in place. While everything is still selected, I'm going to go to a layer, make a new layer, and call this everything. And change it to that layer. So change object layer. So now if I turn off all of these, I guess those, sorry, I'm on that layer. Okay, if I turn off all those layers, I can still see my original is in here. And I can use that for reference later. Okay, great. But for now, I'm going to turn everything else back on, turn that off. Okay, I want to decide on an angle. So I was asking for these to be in, I believe, axonometric view or isometric view. So to get to there, you go to this perspective box, click down, go to set view, and go to isometric, and then you can pick what direction you would like. I'm going to try northwest and see what that looks like. I actually might want it the opposite. So what's that going to be? Northeast. So set view, isometric, northeast. Nope, definitely don't want that. I'm just going to go through them all. Set view, isometric. So maybe it was southwest. Yeah, there we go. I think that's the view I want. If your thing is not zoomed in right on your element, you can select it and type Z enter, S enter. Okay, and it is zoomed in, so it didn't move. Now I want to save this view so that I can find it again. So I'm going to go over here and go set view. And actually, that's probably not a good idea because I want some room to explode. So I need to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to hold down, I want to pan, so I hold down shift and my right mouse button and just give myself a little bit more room to expand. Okay, I think that's good for now. I'm going to save this view so that I can use it again. It doesn't mean that I won't change it, but this is what I'm going to do for now. So I go to set view, and to save this view, I'll go to named views. Click the save button, give it a name. Exploded one, okay. So what that does for me now, if I move this all around, zoom in, whatever I'm doing, if I then click on this, it'll bring me back there, or I can select it up here if you go to exploded one. Okay, great. So now I need to actually start exploding these things out. What I have done to make life a little bit easier for myself is that I have split everything apart in the parts that I want to split it to already. So for example, I'm going to leave the frame in place. The feathers, I want to come straight up. So I'm going to select my feathers by right-clicking on here, select objects. And then you can use the gumball tool. You can find that down here. I personally still like moving things in my orthographic views. So I'm going to come over here and move that, put on ortho so that I stay nice and straight. Maybe I'll move that up. Let's try 10 feet and see where that gets us. Maybe a little more. So maybe I'll move that up 3 more feet. So it's 13 feet. Okay, great. Next thing I'm going to move up is this, the shell of the car. I'm going to move that up maybe 9 feet. Okay, then let's see what's here. The seat I'll pop up as well. So I'll pop up both the seat and that, move that up maybe 3 feet. Okay, frame I'm leaving in place. Bottom of the bike, I'm going to move down. I'll move that down 4 feet. And then the wheels, I want to move outwards. So I'm going to select everything in the wheel, select objects. Here, I only want one side of the wheel at a time, of course. So I'm going to deselect all of those. And actually, I'm going to select the wheel as well as these two pieces, which I'm going to bring out separately. So I'm going to move that out, I don't know, maybe like 5 feet. Let's see what that looks like. It's going to look different enough. So if I go back to set camera, set view, exploded one. I actually think that that's going to have to come out a little bit farther to look different from the, well, this piece is really the problem, that it's like disrupting my view. I think this is maybe even too far. Okay, so let's bring this back in 2 feet. So we originally moved it 5, so we're bringing this back 2. Okay, so that'll be there. This piece I'm going to move down a little bit further. So I'll move that down maybe 4 more feet. I think it'll be a little bit less distracting there. Okay, great. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to select the blue piece and the cap piece, and I'm going to move them out 1 foot. And then I'm going to take the cap, and I'm going to move that out 1 foot. Okay, so now if we zoom in, you can see I have this whole little assembly going together. Now I'm wondering if those are in the right order. Let's see. Should the blue be on top? No, the blue's underneath that cap. That's correct. Okay, great. Okay, same thing on this side. So hopefully you've remembered the measurements. Hopefully I remember the measurements. So I think I'm moving the whole thing 3 foot. And then this stuff I'm moving 1 foot. I think I have the orange selected, so I can lock that so I don't move that. Okay, I'm going to move that 1 foot. And then the cap 1 foot. All right, so that's all set up. I can see those pieces, which is good. The back wheel I have not exploded, but I don't know if I want to. I might leave that one alone. I guess I can explode it backwards. So I'll select all this. Okay. So I'll select all of that part. Let's find a good view to select it in. How about over here? Okay, good. I'm going to move this all back 3 feet. And then I'm actually going to move these guys out the same amount as the other one. So the cap and this, I'm going to move them out 1 foot. And then the cap another foot. And then on this one I only have a cap. I'm going to move it out 2 feet to keep it symmetrical. Okay. So we have that all exploded. I believe I want this guy. My framing probably should have come all the way to the front. It didn't though. Okay, so I think I want this to come forward. I want all these 3 pieces to come forward. So I'm going to select these 3, move them forward. I'm going to do 2 feet. Then this stuff without this, I'm going to move another 2 feet. And then this last little piece, I'm going to move 1 foot. Okay, so let's set my view back. So if I go here, set view, exploded one. Let's just check out what that's looking like. I think I want this to move forward another foot to give it a little bit more room. Okay, I'm back to exploded one. So I think this is pretty good. I wouldn't mind if the frame, this were a tiny bit higher. So maybe I'll move all of this up. Just so that I can see, I guess I can see the end of that frame, but I really want to emphasize that like the seats exploded up. It's not just sitting on top of there. So I'm going to go back to here, just select my seat. I'm going to move that up another 1 foot. And now it's gotten close to there, but I'm actually okay with it. Well, no, I should move up this stuff too. Okay, so I'm going to move this up maybe another 6 inches. I think it's okay if they're close. Oops, not 6 feet. Don't forget to use your quotation marks. Okay, another 6 inches. No, another 6 inches. I just want to see each piece clearly without them overlapping too much. And that's a design decision. You can decide you want things to overlap more. I just want to see them distinctly. I'm okay with these overlapping. That makes sense to me. Okay, so let's go back, set view, exploded one. Great. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save, file, save. Okay, I want to make 2D of this, so I'm going to select everything, type in make 2D. Oh, before I do that, let's check my units quick. Units, I'm going to put 3 zeros in and 1 6, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to select all this, make 2D. I'm going to do the view I'm in, exploded one, which is great. I like maintaining my source layers. I like seeing hidden lines. I'm not going to group output. Okay. So I'm just waiting, it's thinking. Oh, it's taking a long time on this one. Oh, the one step I forgot to show you all is you don't want any extra curves hanging out in your project. That's going to make your drawing strange. So if you type in SELCRV, select curve, hit enter, then delete out all of your curves. That way you're just getting the make 2D of your actual model, not of those extra curves. So I can show that works quick. So right now I have a drawing, right, that has both the 2D drawing along with this 3D drawing in it. If I type in SCL curve, it's going to select all of those, and then I can just delete them, and that will get rid of them. Okay, but I'm going to Control Z that because I still want them. Great. So I'm going to double click on here, and here's my top view. That looks good. I'm going to move these over so that they're not in the way. Okay. The other thing I still want to have a reference for where these things exploded from in my final drawing. So in order to get that, I'm going to set this back here. So set view, exploded one. And this time I'm going to turn off all of these layers that I had on before. Double click on this one, turn that off, okay. And now I'm back to where everything was originally. And I'm going to, okay, set view, exploded one. I'm going to make 2D of this. So make 2D. This time I don't want to see hidden lines. I think that's going to be too much information. So I'm going to take that off, maintain source layers. That's all good, and hit OK. And it's thinking. I suppose if I hadn't moved the make 2D I just made, it would already be in the right place when I opened it, but I didn't do that, so I'm just going to have to find out where it goes. So here is my new 2D drawing, beautiful. So I'm going to have to find some way to get it registered back on this thing. I'm going to move this over. And this is actually going to be really hard to do because I don't have the frame in there, right? That's really what the challenge is here. But actually, I know that this hasn't moved, so I know that the axle needs to come through there. So if I like get that all centered in, I think it comes partially the way through there when I modeled it. And that looks pretty good. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. So now that that's in there, I'm going to go into my make 2D. I'm going to make those lines really light just so they don't distract me. I think the more I get my lines set up here, the less confused I'll be later. So I'm going to come over here. So it'll be all visible lines. So the one that says everything, I'm going to change this to a really light gray just so it kind of fades into the background. And I'm not so focused on it. And actually a little bit less light than that, so it fades more into the rhino background. Okay. Okay, great. Next thing I want to do, I want to make sure that all my hidden lines are actually continuous, that they're not these dotted things, because I think that's been messing up the Illustrator. So I'm going to come over here to hidden and change it to continuous and click OK. Then I should be able to highlight all of these at once. Click on hidden, change to continuous, and hit OK. Now all those lines should be solid. All right. That should be fine. Okay. I'm going to make a new layer called guidelines. And here's where I'm going to kind of set up the rest of my paper. So I'm going to use, what color don't I have? Maybe a green. Hit OK. Come into my top view. I didn't ask for these to a particular scale. So I'm going to start out just making a 24 foot by 24 foot square. I want to see what fits on here. Okay. So that's not going to quite fit everything. What if I scale it by 2? I have a lot of white space on my paper. But I might be okay with that. I think that's fine. Okay, so now I have this nice little layout. Next thing I want to do is add in some lines to explain how these things exploded from each other. So I'll put my line on, and here I want to show the axis that this is all exploding on. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to come all the way through, all the way through to the middle of this. Okay, so that's explaining that one. And actually, I might even scale that, so I can do scale 1D, starting from the midpoint. And I can even make that a little bit longer, because it's kind of like this axis that everything is falling along. Next, I want one that's going to connect the middle of this to the middle of this one. So if I just hold that nice and straight, I moved it straight up, so it should be right above there, which tells me that I didn't move this exactly in the right place. So let's select it and try to move it in the right place. So if I go over here, and actually maybe I can get one more point to help me out. So if I put this straight up, so I know that the bottom of this one and the bottom of that one should somehow both touch, I believe, if I did this right. So let's go over here, select objects, and then we're going to move this. So that line's touching that one, so let's move it so it's really close to touching that one though. Some of it says touching that one. It's really not close to touching that one. So the angle of this might not be perfect. I might not be able to do this. Which is okay. The other thing is I wonder if that even isn't lining up because it's really the cap, like that line is really that line. So let's just leave that where it is now. I think it's close. I don't think it's exact. Okay. So I'll take that off because it doesn't line up, so I don't want to leave it and make things confusing. So then I'll bring this straight up. Maybe I'll show the line for this one. Okay, I'm going to want to show the seat going straight up, so I'll bring a line up for that. And that one I'm not going to be able to see there, so I want to pick a point that I can actually see on both. Okay, so that's set up, that's set up. Now, what else would help? I think like we need some more lines going from front to back. I think that would be helpful. So I'm going to use an X to find kind of the middle of this point, or at least the same point on both. Select both of those. Actually, that point's definitely going to be the same. So I'm going to select this one, the end of that, and I should be able to just follow this kind of perpendicularly back and then move that all forward. So that kind of explains how that's exploding out of there. I can add a couple more so I could show like that's the same as, whoop, that's not the same as that one, is it? This is the same as this one. This is the same as that one. And that one looks like it's at a slightly different angle, so maybe I'll actually take this out. I think this is not like axonometric, even technically isometric, which is why some of this stuff is like not lining up as neatly as I would like. Okay, last thing, I want to show that these two pieces fit together. So in order to show that, I'm going to show maybe this edge to here, or I guess, let's see, this piece should kind of come into here. So I'm going to come that straight down. And then let's see where the end of this ends up. Probably somewhere in the middle there, which is not as helpful. How about on the edge? Okay, that should come straight up. And this, I just want it to be straight. That should come straight up. So I'm kind of showing like the four edges where that's going to intersect. And it'll be, you need to kind of decide based on yours, like how many lines you need, where they should be, what are you exploding against. Let's just try to come straight a second and I can just trim this. Okay. So I have all of those happening. Sweet. Good. Okay, maybe this one needs like some explosion lines. So from here to here, from here to here. How's that looking? I think maybe we'll start with that, and then this one really wants another explosion line, so I'll just bring that straight down. But at least it kind of explains the motion that's supposed to be having, even if it's not perfectly aligned. Actually, that's not too bad anymore. Same thing down here. It should be a straight line up. Okay. That line did not look straight. Okay, great. So now I have this whole thing. I'm going to select everything and go to File, Export Selected, and save this as a DWG. Save it somewhere you can find it. So I'm going to put this in Mica, week 5, exploded Axon, export, and save. It's going to give me options in a second. Here I want to do 2007 natural. And then click OK. Okay. Now that that's all set up, I still want to have, I would like to have a shaded version of both of these things to add into my drawing potentially, at least have them as something I could use. So I'm going to go back to exploded 1, make sure I set the view, set view, exploded 1 so that I know it's all set right. Then I'm going to go to render, and this is, we're just using this for shading. I'm not actually going to change the materials. I'm not going to put any lights in. I'm not doing any of that today. I'm just going to render it as is. So I'm just going to hit render and let it go. And this is going to take a second. Okay, so that gives me a little bit. I go to post effects. Actually, no, we're not even getting into all this. I think maybe we can just like mess with this curve a little bit. Just to get the contrast maybe a little closer we want. Actually, I think I just want a better resolution. The resolution's not that good on this thing. So let's go render properties. And then here, let's just increase this. So viewport, so that's like the normal viewport dimensions, which is okay, but let's change the DPI to 300 and go from draft quality and put that at, we'll put it at final quality. I don't know how long it's going to take, but everything else is fine. Then click OK. Okay, now go render. Render, this is going to take a little bit longer because it's no longer at draft settings. And you can fast forward through this while I'm doing it. It is thinking it's going to take a lot longer because when it's doing the final render, it actually is bouncing light off of the whole object. I'm recording it, so it takes a lot longer for it to process all the reflections and all the light within there. My computer's working really hard, it's making lots of noises, it's thinking. Still thinking, keep fast forwarding, guys. You can tell already, though, that this is a much cleaner image, and this is going to be more useful to me. So that's good. It's worth the wait. Almost done. Oh my goodness. So if you want to keep fast forwarding, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a render for the other version as well. Just waiting for this to go through. %97%. Why is the number remaining going up? 2 seconds remaining. Yeah, right. 1 second remaining. I feel like every second's like 10. Okay, great. So this is good. So I'm going to save it. I don't want to save it again, so I'm not going to find it. Desktop, Micah, week 5. Okay, so this is whole. I'm going to call this whole raster and save it. Okay, and then I'm going to do it one more time. This time, though, I'm going to turn off everything and turn on all the other ones. Okay. It's not going to render those lines in, but I'm going to put those in later, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so now render, hit render again, making sure that I'm keeping that same angle view that I had for my Make 2D drawing. It's important that you have that angle set and saved so that they'll show up exactly the same. And this is going to take a while, so again, feel free to pause, or feel free to fast forward rather. Still thinking. Okay, great. So now I'm going to save this. And this one I'm going to call parts raster. With my Rhino file, I'm going to save it. And I'll just minimize it. Okay, so I'm going to open up Illustrator. File, open. And so here I'm going to find, what did I call that thing? Should be a DWG file. Explode Axon, there it is. Okay, open. Some attributes not be preserved. Okay, that's fine. So here, let's just check what my units were. I think I was in inches. I'm not sure. So units, yeah, I was in inches. So I want it to be, I doubled the size of my canvas. So I started with a 24 foot by 24 foot piece of paper, and I want to fit a 24 inch by 24 inch piece of paper. But actually I doubled it. So I have a 48 foot by 48 foot of paper in Rhino. So here I need to make 12 times 2 units equals 1 inch. So it's going to be 24 inches equals 1 inch, and hit OK. Okay, zooming out. Beautiful, it fits on my paper. Okay, I think I want all these lines actually to be black and white. So I'm going to do Control A, select everything, go over to here, and select black. Okay, so now everything is a black line. That makes it very hard to read. Next thing I'm going to do is expand this. Anything that says hidden, I'm going to select. So hidden. I think I can hold Control and then click on the side, this little side bubble to get all my hiddens. Hidden, 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 hidden. Start again. Hidden. Okay, hidden. Hidden, hidden, visible, hidden, visible, visible, hidden, visible, 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 hidden, 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 hidden. Okay, that should be all my hiddens. So I'm going to take all of those, I'm going to bring that opacity down to 20, let's try 30%. Hopefully it doesn't look ridiculous. And I'm going to change those to maybe 0.25 lines. I want them really light. Then I'll go over here, do a dash line. I'm going to make that a 5-point dash line. I'll click outside and let's see what that looks like. You know, I actually want a finer dash line than that. I think that's too thick. So rather than going through and having to select all those again, I can select one curve and then go to select up here and say same stroke weight, and that'll just select everything I just changed, everything that's the same stroke weight as that, the 0.25. And then I'll come over here and I'm going to change that to a 2-point dash. Let's see what that looks like, if that looks any better. Yeah, that's a little bit better looking. So There's some things that like still aren't coming out quite right. Like this is like you mentioned that sometimes it seems like the lines are on the wrong layer for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why that happens. I think sometimes it's just a little bit glitchy. So I can just select those and I can move them over to the other wheel layer, the visible wheel layer. And then they should change when I select that layer again. Okay. So that's all set up. Next thing I want to do, the curves for everything, I want those to be really light. Like I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to make them 1, maybe 0.5 point, but I want them to be, again, like maybe 10% even. It's just something super light, so it's like there, but just barely in the background. I actually might give those like a little color too, so maybe I'll make them super light and maybe a pink. It's like a beige color, a more of a beigey pinky, a little more pinky than that, somewhere in there. Okay. Oh, that might have disappeared too much. Yeah, that disappeared too much. So select it. I'll bring that up to maybe 30%. Okay, I think that's still really light, but I'm going to do a test print and then I can decide to make it darker if I want to, or after I put everything else and I can always change it. Okay, next thing, guidelines. I want to skip on my guidelines. These I want to be dotted, and this I might make a larger dash. I can actually change the pattern of my dash, so I can do like a 5 with like a 2 gap, 2 dash, 2 gap. Let's see what that looks like. So that kind of gives me like that repeating dash, which is kind of nice. Then I can select that, and I want to bring that opacity down to 50%, so it goes away a little bit. Okay. Now finally, for my curves that are like my final curves, I want to bring those up. So I'm going to select all the visible ones. So I'm going to go through, select those, visible, see, visible, 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 hidden, visible, visible, visible. Okay, so I'm going to select all those and bring them up to, I'm going to start with 1.2. But I might need to dial some of them back. So I think the wheels I need to go back in and make some changes because like a lot of the wheels came out invisible for whatever reason that I think shouldn't have. So like all of this, the outside of that really needs to be on the visible part. So move that over to visible curves wheel. Same thing with the interior one. I'm like, that's a pain in the butt, but that's just what cleanup is. Sometimes you have to clean up the image and make sure things are on the layer you want them to be. I could also just draw a new line over it. So that's something I can go back and do. So once I put those all into the visible layer, I'm going to select this again. Make sure I go over here and change it to no dashed so that they're solid. And then I'm going to select this one more time. Make sure they're 100% opacity. And then I think I said it was 1.2. So I should clean those up. And I need to do it for those two. I'm not going to spend all the time to do that right now. That's something you would continue to clean up as you went. Same thing for that back wheel. You need to clean that up. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is bring in those drawings. So I'm going to make two new layers over here. On the first one, and here I'm going to put in raster hole, and on this one is going to be raster part. Okay, so raster hole file place. I'm going to find my raster hole image. And I need to scale it up a lot for it to work for this. So I can lock everything else just so it doesn't get in my way while I'm scaling this. And it might still be kind of pixelated now that I'm looking at how much I'm needing to enlarge this. Oops. I enlarged it a little too much, I think. So if I bring it there, and I'm lining up with that pink file back there. And it's really hard for me to see that pink file right now. Okay, it's getting there. That wheel needs to come in a little bit, so let's make it a little smaller. Tiny bit smaller still. So I'm kind of looking at the wheels because that's like the piece I can see most easily. I think it's even still a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. And you can use your arrow keys to move something really slowly and gently. Now it's too small. Typical, right? Okay, so you make it a little bigger. And it's okay if it's not 100% perfect. Because we're going to bring the opacity down a lot, so you might not be able to notice if it's not perfectly perfect. But I also want those to line up. Tiny bit bigger. So let's check back at those feathers. Let's good with the feathers, but bad up there. Okay, that's pretty good. So once I have that placed, I'm going to click out. And then here I'm going to go, and I want to change the opacity of this. I'm going to select this button. I'm going to change this to maybe multiply. And what that does is even if there's like the lines now pop out, even if it were in front of those lines, it would pop out, which is better. And I'm going to bring down the overall opacity a lot. So let's say it's just like 20%. So it's just kind of a shadow behind there. Okay, I'm going to leave that. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm not sure I'm going to want that other render. I kind of like it just with that one in there, but I'll bring it in just to see. So I'm going to go to, again, change my layer over here and go to File, Place, and then select the other one. So that was Parts Raster, Place. Okay, and this one should be a very similar size to the other one, I'm thinking. So if I just make them the same size, so let's lock that so I don't mess it up. It should be the same, I would think. Unless I messed up, unless I like didn't keep my proportion the same, which also might have happened. Okay, this one's a lot easier to see. So I'm gonna move that over, move that up there. Okay, those look like they're lining up, that's lining up. It's a lot easier when you can see the lines well, huh? Okay, great. That one's all lined up. Actually, maybe I do want to leave that in there. I still think I don't want it quite this dark though. So I'm going to select all that and see darken. And here I just kind of scroll through and see which one I think looks good. I think I might go with overlay. What about soft light? Actually, I like soft light. Hue, saturation. Okay, let's go with soft light. I'm going to bring the opacity down a little bit, say 30%. Too light? 50%. Okay, that's pretty good. Now you'll notice that my artboard is like above where this is, and I'm worried that's going to create a weird line on my paper. Also, my guidelines are below those. Sorry, I didn't mention that. I put my guidelines below so that they fade out a little bit more. I think I need those pink lines to be a little bit more punchy. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to bring those up to 0.75 point, make them a little thicker. Is that enough, or do I want to also make them more opaque? I think that's enough. Yeah, I think that's enough so it doesn't get distracting. Okay, so I want to bring my artboard down, so I'm just going to lock everything. And then over here, I'm going to move down my paper so that I don't have like a weird line there. That's what I'm mostly worried about. Okay, and then I do need to, I had made an original outline of where that was, oh, but now it's not centered. So here comes the point where you say, okay, how important is scale in this situation? And honestly, I don't think it's just really to scale anymore anyway. So I'm just going to select everything and scale it up a little bit. So the other way I could do this is like go back to Rhino, re-render, and redo my render with like a little bit more background in the front so that it would actually work out right. So I'm scaling everything together, hopefully, and now I'm going to center it the way I want it. One more. Okay, there you go. So that is my drawing. I might decide that I want certain things to pop out more, so I can always shade things in again with my Make 2D, same as we did last class. I can still add in textures. There's other stuff I can do to it, but that's just very basically how you can do an exploded axonometric of your drawing. And when you save it, right, so save generally first. Save, okay. So when you do save, make sure you're saving it as a PDF, so save as, when you're doing your final copy, PDF. And then give it a naming convention you can remember. So say I'm going to do ARC 211, and then this is drawing 3, and save it before I turn it in. And Illustrator default's fine. Thank you very much. Now if I want to see what that looks like, I can always go, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to delete that line. So that line was on guidelines, so go to my guidelines, select that, delete it, and then I'm going to save the whole thing one more time. So file, and this is still the PDF version. So when you save as a PDF, it starts working as a PDF. So it's always good once you do the PDF to close out and reopen your Illustrator file. But in this case, I'm just going to save, and it should update my PDF. Okay, so if I open that up, there it is.